Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about one of history's most ferocious rebellions, a story about family, vengeance, and fire that changed an entire nation. You're about to experience the pain of betrayal and the spark that turned a grieving mother into a warrior queen. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And while you're at it, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Now, let's listen to the compelling story in this video of mine. You wake up to a cold, gray morning in the Iceni lands. The air feels heavy, as if the earth itself knows something dark is coming. In the distance, you hear the pounding of Roman boots, their disciplined rhythm echoing off the wooden palisades. These are not neighbors coming to trade or talk. These are conquerors collecting their price. Boudica's husband, King Prasutagus, had played the Roman game for years. He signed treaties, paid tribute, and even named Rome as co-heir alongside his daughters, thinking it would protect his people. He believed the pact would shield them from Roman greed. He was wrong. When he died, the Romans didn't honor his agreement. Instead, they swooped in like vultures, declaring Iceni lands confiscated and property seized. Roman officials marched through villages, slapping seals on barns and dragging livestock away as payment. The Iceni were stunned, confused, angry, but not ready to fight. Not yet. You stand near Boudica's household as Roman officers step forward, cloaked in crimson and arrogance. They shove her, demanding total submission. She refuses, her voice steady, but her hands trembling. You hear the whip crack and the queen falls to her knees. The Roman soldiers don't stop there. They grab her daughters, pulling them by the hair, dragging them screaming into the open. You can't bear to watch, but you hear everything. The terrified cries, the brutal violation. The crowd is frozen, powerless, watching their queen's honor shattered in front of them. This is not just cruelty. It's humiliation designed to break an entire people. You feel your stomach twist, rage bubbling like molten iron. You look at Boudica lying there, hair tangled, lips bleeding, but her eyes are not broken. They're burning with something terrifying. After the Romans leave, the Iceni villagers gather. You see Boudica stand up slowly, almost shaking, but then her voice cuts through the silence. They have taken everything from us. They will take no more. You see hands clenched into fists, farmers gripping pitchforks like weapons, hunters fingering their knives. You feel it in your chest, a shift, an awakening. This is no longer about tribute or treaties. This is personal. That night, Boudica sits by the fire with her daughters, wrapping them in furs, her hands shaking as she brushes their hair. You hear her whisper promises of vengeance. They will pay. A messenger arrives from a neighboring tribe, the Trinovantes, who have also suffered Roman abuses. Their temples desecrated, their leaders executed. They're ready to join forces. You hear whispers spreading through the camp. The rebellion is coming. You watch Boudica sharpen a blade herself, into her long red hair falling like a curtain of fire over her shoulders. Her daughters sit quietly, their eyes wide, understanding something about to change forever. This is not just the grief of a mother. It is the birth of a queen who will light Britain aflame. The next morning, you walk through the village as drums echo across the fields. Warriors gather, faces painted with ash and ochre, whispering her name like a prayer. Boudica steps onto a wagon, lifts a spear high into the air, and the crowd roars, "For the queen! For vengeance!" You look toward the horizon, and it's as if even the gray sky leans forward, waiting. Something monumental is coming, and you are standing at the edge of it, feeling your heart pound, knowing nothing will be the same. You feel the ground tremble as more warriors arrive, men and women from neighboring tribes answering Boudica's call. The Iceni alone cannot challenge Rome, but united with others, there's a chance. You see carts loaded with spears, shields, and food. Families leave their homes behind, knowing this path leads either to freedom or death. Boudica stands tall in her chariot, bronze torque gleaming at her throat, her long hair flowing like fire in the wind. She surveys the gathering, her face calm, but her eyes sharp and alive with purpose. She looks at you. Yes, directly at you, and you feel the weight of history pressing on your shoulders. This isn't just survival. This is vengeance wrapped in destiny. You walk among the warriors, feeling the tension. Some sharpen blades, others chant prayers to ancient gods of war and vengeance. The druids move through the crowd, their staffs adorned with raven feathers and animal bones. They chant in a deep, guttural rhythm that seems to vibrate through your bones. You've never seen this many people united under one banner, especially tribes who normally feud. One elder whispers to you, the queen's spirit has woken them all. Even the land feels it. And he's right. The air feels thicker, like a storm's about to break. As the sun rises, Boudica calls her warriors to gather. Her daughters stand beside her, wrapped in wolf pelts, their faces painted in blue woad designs of vengeance and protection. She raises her voice. We fight not for kings or for land. We fight for our children, for our women, for every lash, every insult, every Roman boot on our necks. Today, Britain stands together. A roar answers her, deafening, primal. You feel it in your chest like a drumbeat. Even the horses rear up, as if they understand what's coming. The first target is Camulodunum, the Roman colonia, the so-called jewel of Roman Britain, built over sacred Trinovantian land and filled with Roman veterans and officials. To the tribes, it's a monument to oppression. To you, it looks like a perfect place to strike first. Before the army moves, rituals begin. You're ushered into a clearing where druids draw symbols into the ground with ashen blood. Warriors kneel, placing hands on their hearts, swearing oaths of loyalty to the queen and to vengeance itself. You hear one voice mutter, "If I fall, may the gods take my enemies with me." Boudica takes a blade and slices her palm, raising it high. Her blood drips onto the earth, and she shouts, "By blood and fire, we reclaim what is ours." The warriors slam their weapons on their shields in response, a metallic thunder that rolls across the fields. Later, you sit near the fires, eating smoked fish and barley bread, watching the camaraderie of warriors who were strangers yesterday, but brothers and sisters today. Some laugh, sharing stories of hunts and raids. Others remain silent, staring into flames, already fighting tomorrow's battles in their minds. You hear conversations about Rome, about their arrogance, their roads, their endless taxes, their soldiers who treat Britons like livestock. They think we're nothing, a young warrior says, but tomorrow, they'll know who we are. That night, the camp is restless. Horses stomp nervously. You lie on the ground, staring at the stars, feeling the hum of thousands of lives preparing for war. In the distance, you see Boudica walking alone, her daughters trailing quietly behind. She kneels, touches the earth, and whispers something you can't hear. For a moment, she looks small, just a mother holding grief. But then she rises again, taller than before, a queen who carries the weight of an entire people. When dawn breaks, the horns sound. The army forms ranks, shields and spears gleaming in the early light. Boudica climbs into her chariot, a sight to behold. Horses snorting steam, the wheels glinting like polished bronze. She raises her spear, and the army answers with a roar that shakes your bones. You grab a shield someone thrusts at you, your pulse quickening. You're not a warrior, but in this moment, you feel like one. There's no turning back. The queen is awake, and Britain is marching to war. You wake to the rumble of movement, thousands of feet marching, carts creaking, horses snorting. The army has become a river of people, winding across the countryside toward Camulodunum. You walk alongside farmers turned warriors, young boys gripping crude spears, mothers carrying daggers strapped to their belts. It feels like the entire Iceni tribe and half of Britain are on the move. As you trudge, you hear whispers about why this rebellion had to happen. Rome had not just taxed the Britons into poverty. They had turned sacred lands into personal estates and forced British nobles to sign crushing loans. One elder tells you how Roman financiers would double the interest rates until people lost everything. They want to own us, he spits, but we will never be theirs. The people around you nod grimly. You realize this isn't just about Boudica's daughters or one tribe's humiliation. It's about every man and woman who has suffered under Roman rule. Each step forward feels heavier, but also stronger, like you're being pulled by something inevitable. Midday, you stop at a ridge overlooking the Roman road. It's unnaturally straight, cutting through hills like a scar. Boudica halts the army and points her spear toward the horizon. Every stone of this road is built on our backs, she shouts, and we'll tear it down if we must. The roar that follows makes birds scatter from the trees. You think back to the Roman arrogance, governors flaunting wealth, soldiers mocking the British way of life, temples erected to honor emperors instead of gods the Britons knew. It all crashes over you like a wave of anger. That night, you huddle near the fire with others as scouts return from Camulodunum. They're weak, hey, one says, grinning. Barely any soldiers, just settlers and old veterans. You hear the name Catus Decianus, the Roman procurator despised for his harsh taxation, and feel the mood shift. Someone whispers, "Good, he'll pay first." Boudica rises, towering over the crowd. "Tomorrow, we strike their heart. Tomorrow, they feel our pain." Her daughters stand next to her, holding spears almost as tall as themselves, their faces painted with blue spirals. You see pride in their eyes, a stark contrast to the fear you saw days ago. The druids step forward, chanting low, melodic phrases as they sprinkle mead and blood on the fire, sending sparks twisting into the dark sky. One druid places a raven feather in your hand. "For luck," he says. "You'll need it." At dawn, the army begins its march again, faster now, like a predator stalking prey. You feel the vibration of feet in the ground and the sharp tang of iron from countless blades. People whisper prayers as they walk, gripping charms and totems. Hours later, you crest a hill and see Camulodunum, Roman houses with tiled roofs, orderly streets, a grand temple dedicated to Emperor Claudius, and stone walls glinting in the sunlight. It looks peaceful, smug even, as if it believes Rome's shadow will always protect it. But Boudica's warriors don't see beauty, they see theft. "That temple?" A warrior beside you growls. "Built on our land, our sweat. Today it burns." You're assigned to guard a wagon loaded with spears and extra shields. Your hands tremble, but not from fear, it's anticipation. Everyone knows what's about to happen. Then it begins. War horns blast, startling birds from rooftops. Boudica's chariot charges down the slope, her voice carrying above the roar, "For freedom, for vengeance." Warriors surge forward, shouting battle cries that shake your bones. Romans inside the colonia scramble. You hear bells clanging, people screaming "Pia," doors slamming shut. A handful of Roman soldiers try to form ranks, but they're cut down almost instantly, overwhelmed by sheer numbers and fury. You rush in behind the warriors as gates are kicked down and houses set ablaze. The temple looms above it all, the ultimate symbol of Roman power. Boudica points her spear at it and shouts, "Burn it." Within minutes, flames lick the sky, black smoke spiraling into the heavens. You stand frozen, watching the city crumble, the smell of burning wood and stone choking your lungs. You realize this is only the beginning, the first domino falling what will become an unstoppable storm. You wake the next morning to the sound of chanting, deep, guttural, and haunting. The druids stand in a circle, painted in stark white with dark spirals winding across their skin. They sway as they chant, calling on ancient gods to bless the warriors for what's to come. The smell of burning sage and animal fat fills the cold air, mixing with the lingering stench of smoke from Camulodunum, still smoldering in the distance. Boudica stands at the center of the ritual, her arms raised to the gray sky, a spear in one hand and her other hand bloodied from a fresh oath. Around her, warriors kneel with weapons outstretched. "You swear to fight for freedom," the druids intone, "for vengeance, for Britain." The crowd responds in unison, voices rumbling like distant thunder. "We swear." You're handed a small bowl filled with a mixture of ash and ochre. A druid dips his fingers and paints two streaks down your face. "Blood of earth, fire of spirit," he whispers. You feel a chill, like the weight of hundreds of ancestors pressing their hands on your shoulders. Warriors strip down to loincloths and leather tunics, their bodies covered in blue woad designs, spirals, animal figures, runes of power. Some carve new tattoos into their arms, blood mingling with the dark blue dye. This is no ordinary war paint. This is transformation. It's as if each person becomes something more than human, something primal and terrifying. Boudica's daughters also take part, kneeling as their mother draws symbols across their faces. They're young, but their eyes no longer hold fear. They hold fire. You can see it in the way they grip their spears, their backs straight, their mouths set in grim determination. Nearby, the smiths work furiously, heating metal in portable forges, hammering out spearheads and arrow tips. You hear the rhythmic clang of hammers, a steady heartbeat of war preparation. Others weave wicker shields or repair chariots, the wooden wheels groaning as they're reinforced. Even elders contribute, sharpening blades or binding wounds from the last battle. A druid approaches you with a strange item, a torque, a twisted bronze neck ring, cool and heavy in your hands. "Wear it," he says, "so the gods know your courage." You slip it over your head, and the metal feels almost alive, like it hums faintly with energy. As the ritual reaches its peak, Boudica steps onto her war chariot, raising her spear high. "We are no longer slaves," she cries, her voice cutting through the wind. "We are warriors. Rome took our daughters, our homes, our pride. Today we take back everything." The army roars, pounding weapons against shields. The sound is deafening, a wave of noise that makes your heart pound in your chest. You feel it ripple through you. This is not just war, this is a holy cause. After the ceremony, the warriors feast. Great fires are lit, roasting deer and boars hunted from nearby woods. Mead flows freely, and songs of ancient heroes fill the night air. But beneath the laughter and music, there's a sharp edge of focus. You notice people staring into the fire for long moments, lost in thought, already imagining what tomorrow might bring. You sit near Boudica's daughters, who are cleaning their spearheads and adjusting leather straps on their armor. One of them looks at you and says quietly, "We'll never be their victims again." You see the steel in her eyes and believe her. Later, you watch Boudica alone at the edge of the camp, gazing out over the dark hills. She grips her spear tightly, the firelight catching on her bronze torque. For a brief moment, she looks weary, like the burden of leadership is pressing down hard. But then she straightens, squares her shoulders, and walks back into the crowd, her face set like stone. You realize something profound. This isn't just a rebellion. It's a war for identity, for the soul of an entire people. And tonight's oaths and war paint have bound everyone together in a way no Roman coin or treaty ever could. Tomorrow, they march again. And tomorrow, Rome will feel the true weight of what they have unleashed. The morning air bites at your skin, sharp and metallic, carrying with it the faint tang of distant smoke. The army is on the move again, wheels of chariots cutting into the frost-hardened earth. The hum of thousands of feet feels like a living thing beneath you. Every step is heavier than the last, not from exhaustion, but from expectation. The next target looms ahead, the Roman road junction that leads straight toward London. Boudica rides at the front of the column in her war chariot, the twin horses stamping and snorting clouds of white breath. Her daughters stand with her, each gripping a spear, their faces painted with fresh woad spirals that gleam like ocean waves. Around you, the warriors are more focused than ever. No one talks much. The jokes and loud songs of the previous night are gone. The silence is purposeful, like the moment before an arrow is loosed. You pass fields dotted with abandoned Roman villas. Some still smoke from early raids, test strikes by Iceni scouts. Chickens wander loose through gardens, doors hang open, and shutters bang in the wind. You see Roman mosaics cracked under boot heels and statues of Roman gods toppled into wells. This isn't just destruction, it's erasure. At midday, the army halts for scouts' reports. A runner comes forward, panting, and kneels before Boudica. "The Romans are pulling troops toward Wales," he says. "Their governor, Suetonius Paulinus, is fighting Druids on the island of Mona. London is weak." A ripple of energy passes through the crowd. Weak? That word means opportunity. You hear Boudica's voice rise above the murmur. "Then we take it. No walls will stand when Britain's fury comes." Her words send shivers down your spine. The march resumes, faster now. The Roman roads, normally an advantage for imperial soldiers, now serve the rebels. You feel the unsettling irony. These highways, built by Rome to move legions quickly, now carry their enemies straight to their richest cities. As evening falls, the army camps near a grove of ancient oaks. Fires spark to life, casting orange halos against the tree trunks. Druids prepare offerings, tying strips of cloth to branches, whispering prayers to gods of victory and vengeance. You're given a bowl of warm broth and hard bread, but you barely taste it. Your mind keeps leaping ahead. London. You've heard of London before. Londinium, the shining trade hub, bustling with merchants, Roman officials, and veterans' families. It's a symbol of Rome's permanence in Britain, a city born of empire. But to the tribes, it's just another wound, another place where Roman boots trample local lives. You lie awake that night, staring at the shifting firelight. A warrior next to you mutters, "When London falls, Rome will know we are not just tribes, they'll know we are a nation." You don't answer, but deep down, you feel the truth of it. The next morning, the army forms into tight marching columns. Chariots roll alongside, their wheels screeching softly. The sound of shields tapping against thighs becomes a steady rhythm. Your feet ache, your shoulders strain under the weight of your shield, but adrenaline pushes you forward. Hours pass, and finally, the landscape begins to change. Roman markers line the road, etched with distances to Londinium. Every step feels heavier. You see caravans abandoned in ditches, their goods looted by early rebel outriders. People who once worked these roads as traders now stand by watching, wide-eyed as the massive column passes. You notice something else: fear. Civilians, Romanized Britons loyal to Rome, scatter into the woods, clutching children and small bundles of possessions. One woman looks at you as you march by, eyes wide and wet, clutching a necklace of Roman coins. She doesn't scream or curse. She just backs away slowly, like someone watching a storm swallow their world. By the time camp is made, everyone knows it. London is within reach. Fires are banked low to avoid detection, and guards double their watch. You sit sharpening your borrowed sword, staring into the distance where faint lights mark the city's presence. Tomorrow, you'll see it up close. Tomorrow, Boudica's vengeance will move from promise to reality. You try to sleep, but your heart beats too fast. Every rustle of leaves feels like the future whispering, fire, blood, and the fall of Rome's shining jewel. The sun rises behind a blanket of pale fog, making the landscape look ghostly as you march with the army toward Camulodunum's ashes still behind you and the next prize ahead. But the real prize is still to come, and everyone knows it. London is days away, but today marks the first decisive strike against Roman arrogance. Boudica rides past on her chariot, scanning the ranks. She looks calm, but you can see the fire in her eyes. The same fire that started burning when her daughters were violated and her honor trampled. Every mile brings her closer to Roman power, and every mile you feel the army's resolve harden like iron. But first, Camulodunum. You crest a ridge and see the city again, but this time from the south. The Roman Colonia was once considered safe. Veterans from the Roman army lived here, retired with wealth and Roman citizenship. It had temples, tiled roofs, and an arrogant sense of permanence. Now it's a trap waiting to be sprung. The Iceni scouts had already confirmed it. Barely any soldiers, mostly civilians, and a handful of Roman veterans. The people in Camulodunum never believed the rebellion would reach them. Rome was too strong, too eternal. Or so they thought. Boudica raises her spear and shouts, "Today we take back what was stolen. Today, Britain rises." The roar that answers her shakes you to your core. Warriors slam shields together, horns blare, and the earth trembles under the charge. You run with the crowd as they storm the city. The sound is overwhelming, boots pounding, shields clashing, war cries ripping through the fog. Romans rush to close gates, but it's too late. The sheer mass of rebels surges forward, splintering doors and tearing down palisades. You're swept inside, where chaos reigns. Roman settlers scream and scatter, some trying to fight, others scrambling to hide. A small group of veterans forms a shield wall near the temple of Claudius, but they're hopelessly outnumbered. The rebels pour oil on buildings and toss torches into thatch roofs. Within moments, smoke billows upward, thick and black. The temple itself, that proud stone monument to Roman power, becomes a focal point. Boudica rides straight for it, her chariot wheels screeching as she dismounts. She points her spear toward the towering structure. This temple is their symbol of dominance. Burn it first. Warriors rush forward, hacking at doors, smashing statues, and piling wooden beams against the stone walls. Flames catch quickly, licking up columns carved to honor an emperor who never set foot here. You stand there, your eyes stinging from smoke, watching history shift before you. The city you once thought untouchable is collapsing in hours. People scream, bells ring, and still the warriors advance with methodical and merciless. The Roman procurator, Catus Decianus, barely escapes with his life, fleeing on horseback. The few Roman soldiers left behind are cut down or vanish into the woods. By midday, Camulodunum is no more, a skeleton of smoking ruins and shattered statues. When the fighting stops, the warriors gather, shouting in triumph. Some fall to their knees, overcome by emotion. Others pound shields in rhythm, chanting Boudica's name. You stand there shaking, both exhilarated and stunned. You've just seen a Roman colonia, something meant to represent the unbreakable reach of the empire, fall like dry timber in a storm. As the sun sets, the victorious army camps near the ruins. Smoke still curls into the twilight sky, carrying the acrid scent of destruction. Boudica walks among her warriors, thanking them one by one. When she reaches you, she nods slightly, eyes sharp and unblinking. "This is only the beginning," she says, and you know she means it. You glance back one last time at Camulodunum. The firelight flickers against collapsed walls, throwing monstrous shadows into the sky. You realize the Romans aren't invincible, and you realize something else. London is next, and it will burn even hotter. Smoke still lingers in the air as you leave the ruins of Camulodunum behind. The earth feels scorched, not just from fire, but from the weight of history shifting beneath your feet. Word of the victory spreads fast. Messengers on horseback carry news to distant tribes, and by the time you march again, new faces join the column. Warriors from the Trinovantes, the Cornuvii, and even some disillusioned Romanized Britons swell the ranks. The rebellion is no longer local, it's a wave. But Rome is starting to stir. Scouts report Roman soldiers withdrawing from northern outposts, pulling back toward Londinium. Governor Suetonius Paulinus is still far away, fighting Druids in the west, but the message is clear. The empire is paying attention. You sit near a fire that night listening to worried talk. "They'll send legions," one warrior says, sharpening his spear until sparks fly. "Legions don't run from farmers." Another shakes his head. "Farmers? Look around you. We're an army now." The conversation turns to Roman retaliation. You remember the Roman way of war, organized, brutal, and relentless. But you also remember their arrogance. Camulodunum burned because they underestimated Boudica. Londinium might suffer the same fate unless Rome reacts fast enough. Boudica calls the warriors to a gathering. She steps onto her chariot, torchlight flickering across her war paint, making her look like a figure out of myth. "Rome thinks we are broken tribes," she says, voice cutting through the night air. "They think they can steal our land, our daughters, our pride. But what we have shown them, Britain does not kneel." The crowd roars. Spears slam against shields in a metallic thunder. You feel the vibration through your boots, your chest, your skull. It's impossible not to feel swept up in it. Scouts bring grim news. Some Roman settlers have already abandoned their homes near Londinium, fleeing south to safer regions. But others, wealthy merchants, imperial officials, are staying, trusting the city's growing prosperity and central position to protect them. You know better. Londinium may be rich, but it has no proper defenses yet. Boudica orders an accelerated march. You feel the pace quicken, your feet aching as roads blur past. The Roman infrastructure is ironically aiding the rebellion. Straight, well-drained highways built to move Roman legions now serve to carry Britain's fury directly to Rome's heart. During a brief rest, you overhear warriors talking about what will come next. Some want revenge for family members enslaved or killed. Others just want Rome out of Britain entirely. One man, scarred and missing 2 fingers, says quietly, "They took my sons for labor. I want them back, or Rome in ashes." The Druids continue their rituals along the route, leaving charms and burning offerings at crossroads. Ravens circle overhead, a sign some interpret as blessing, others as an omen of blood to come. One evening, as the camp quiets, you sit by a small fire near Boudica herself. She sharpens her sword slowly, deliberately, each stroke echoing in the stillness. You watch her daughters sleep beside her, curled up like foxes under their cloaks. For a moment, she looks like any other mother, fierce yet fragile, before that mask of iron determination slides back into place. Before dawn, you're woken by the sound of horns. Scouts report Roman supply wagons moving north, likely reinforcements or resources being rushed toward London. Boudica wastes no time. She orders a raiding party to intercept. You watch as warriors vanish into the mist, returning hours later with captured supplies and news that Roman soldiers fled rather than fight. Morale skyrockets. By the time you reach the outer approaches to Londinium, the army feels unstoppable. Even whispers of an approaching Roman counterforce can't dampen the mood. People talk about how future generations will sing of this moment, how the queen who rose from humiliation will be remembered as a liberator. You look toward the skyline of Londinium, faintly visible in the distance. It's bigger than any British settlement, a bustling hub of trade and power. But all you can think about is fire, how much of it will light the sky soon, and how far the smoke will rise. You wake to the cold bite of morning and the sound of boots crunching on frost-hardened ground. The army is already moving, no longer a band of warriors, but a river of people flowing south toward Londinium. Every step is a drumbeat of inevitability. You can feel it in the air, a tension that hums against your skin, electric and dangerous. Boudica rides at the head of the column, her daughters beside her, each holding a spear that gleams in the pale light. Their faces are painted with fresh blue woad, swirling patterns across their cheeks and foreheads, and their eyes hold the same fierce determination as their mother. The war chariots roll smoothly along the Roman road, wheels screeching softly, horses snorting steam. Londinium looms closer with each mile. You've heard stories about this city, a bustling hub of trade and wealth, a melting pot of Roman settlers, merchants, and local Britons eager to profit under imperial rule. It doesn't have the thick walls of Rome or even Verulamium, but its influence is undeniable. It's the empire's lifeline in Britain, and that makes it the perfect target. Scouts rush in from the front, bringing updates. Minimal garrison, one reports breathlessly. Most troops are still with the governor in the west. Civilians, merchants, and a few veterans. Nothing more. A murmur sweeps through the ranks like wind through tall grass. Boudica smiles, though there's no warmth in it. Then we strike before they know what hit them, she says. The pace quickens. You feel it in your legs and lungs, but no one complains. People know what this means. If Londinium falls, Rome will bleed in Britain. Along the way, you see abandoned farmhouses and villas, their doors hanging open, livestock wandering free. Some Romanized Britons have fled south, while others cower inside, praying to gods who seem deaf this far from Rome. You catch sight of a family watching from behind a fence. The father grips a Roman coin necklace. The mother clutches a child. They don't speak, but their eyes follow you like ghosts. The druids walk among the column, whispering blessings, their staffs topped with raven feathers and carved symbols. They hand out charms, pieces of bone, smooth stones etched with runes, strands of horsehair braided into loops. You take one, tucking it into your belt, feeling the rough edges against your fingers like a promise. That evening, the army camps just a few miles north of Londinium. Fires burn low, guarded against prying Roman eyes. People eat quickly, silently, sharpening blades or checking leather straps on shields. The silence is unnerving, the kind that happens right before a storm breaks. You can't sleep. The thought of what's coming gnaws at you. The city, the people, the fire. You remember the screams at Camulodunum and wonder if Londinium will sound the same or worse. Yet part of you burns for it too. After what Rome did to Boudica and her daughters, after the endless taxes, the seizures, the humiliation, fire feels like justice. Before dawn, Boudica gathers her leaders. You stand nearby, close enough to hear her voice. Londinium is their pride, she says, eyes flashing in the torchlight. It feeds their trade and fills their coffers. We will tear it down so Rome knows their grip is weak. We will strike fast and burn everything they think permanent. She turns to her daughters, placing her hands on their shoulders. This is for you, she says softly, but the army hears it anyway. You see heads bow, fists tighten, eyes shine with anger and resolve. By the time first light spills across the horizon, the warriors are assembled, shields up, chariots aligned. The air is cold, but the energy around you feels hot, almost feverish. You grip your sword tighter, heart thudding in your ears. You can see it now, Londinium on the horizon, smoke from its chimneys curling into the sky. The city doesn't know what's about to hit it, but you do. And you know, deep in your gut, that by tonight, nothing in Londinium will ever be the same. The air is sharp with morning frost as the army rolls forward like an unstoppable tide. The Roman road beneath your feet, built with their precision and arrogance, now serves as the path to their destruction. Ahead, Londinium glimmers in the early light, a sprawl of wooden homes, bustling markets, and warehouses stacked with goods from across the empire. You can smell the faint tang of smoke from cooking fires and hear the distant hum of life. They don't know what's coming. Boudica halts her chariot on a low rise overlooking the city. She raises her spear, and the entire army stops as if frozen by the gesture. Look well, she calls out, her voice carrying on the cold breeze. This is Rome's jewel in our land. Today it will burn. Her words ripple through the ranks, answered by a guttural roar that shakes your chest. The assault begins fast, brutal, and relentless. Scouts rush ahead, cutting off side roads, while warriors pour through the main approaches. Merchants drop their goods and run. Roman officials scream orders that dissolve into panic. Londinium was never built for war. It has no walls, No great garrison, no fallback plan for a full-scale assault. You're swept forward with the warriors as they storm the market district. Stalls overturn, clay amphorae shatter, and coins scatter across the cobblestones like spilled seeds. A Roman tax collector tries to flee with a chest, but he's dragged down by furious hands and trampled underfoot. The rebellion has no mercy today. You rush past terrified civilians, some Roman, some British, but loyal to Rome, clutching children, trying to hide. The sound of their cries is drowned by the chaos. Chariots rattling through narrow streets, warriors shouting in Brythonic tongues, and the sharp crack of timbers splitting under axes. The great warehouses near the docks are the first to ignite. Flames climb high, licking at ropes and sails, consuming grain and olive oil stores. The smoke turns black and oily, blotting out the weak winter sun. You choke on it, coughing as your eyes sting, but still, you push forward. Boudica rides at the head of the charge, her daughters beside her, spears leveled. "For freedom!" she shouts. Her chariot wheels cut grooves into the soft earth, horses screaming as they lunge forward. The warriors answer with a deafening roar and surge deeper into the heart of the city. At the center of Londinium stands the governor's hall, a proud structure of stone and timber. It's there that many Roman officials take shelter, clutching scrolls and coins, hoping for protection that isn't coming. The rebels swarm the steps, axes swinging, doors splintering under the onslaught. You feel the vibration as the great doors collapse, the officials dragged out screaming. Some plead in Latin for mercy, but there is none. Fire spreads quickly, consuming wooden homes and shops. Roofs cave in, sending showers of sparks into the wind. The heat becomes unbearable. You can feel your skin prickle even from a distance. Children cry. Dogs bark wildly, and above it all is the crackling roar of the firestorm. You glance toward the docks and see people trying to flee across the Thames in overloaded boats. Some make it, but others capsize, spilling screaming figures into the frigid water. The rebellion does not chase them. The fire is punishment enough. By noon, Londinium is unrecognizable. The marketplace, the warehouses, the governor's hall, all gone, consumed by flame and fury. You stand among the rebels, chest heaving, sweat mixing with ash on your face. Around you, warriors cheer, pounding their shields, while Boudica raises her blood-smeared spear high. "Rome bleeds today," she cries. But amid the victory, you feel a chill. This isn't just war, it's annihilation. The city's lifeblood is gone, its people scattered or dead, its trade crippled. And yet, you know Boudica isn't finished. There's still more rage, more vengeance to deliver. You wipe soot from your eyes and look around at the burning ruins. Londinium has fallen, and it will burn for days. But deep down, a question gnaws at you. When the fire dies and the ashes settle, what will rise in its place? The fire from Londinium still paints the horizon when you march out the next day. The smell of burnt timber and charred grain clings to everything. Your clothes, your hair, even the inside of your mouth. The army is larger now. More tribes have joined after hearing of the destruction. To them, Londinium's fall is proof that Rome can bleed. To you, it feels like stepping into a storm that won't stop until everything in its path is flattened. Boudica rides ahead in her chariot, her daughters still at her side. The three of them look unbreakable, like living statues of vengeance and fury. She lifts her spear toward the sky. "We have struck their heart," she shouts, "but Rome still clutches at this land like a thief clutches stolen gold. We will tear their fingers away one by one." The warriors roar in response, and the march quickens toward Verulamium, another Roman settlement. It's wealthier than most tribal towns, but softer than Londinium, populated by merchants and Roman loyalists who believed imperial protection was eternal. Now, that illusion will burn. Along the way, you see what war has already wrought. Roman villas stand abandoned, livestock scattered in fields, roads eerily empty except for the occasional overturned wagon. Sometimes you spot refugees, Roman citizens hauling carts of goods, children crying as they trudge south. They see your army and scramble into the woods like frightened deer. You don't blame them. This rebellion has no mercy left to offer. At camp that evening, you gather near a fire as warriors talk about their futures. One young man says, "When this is over, I'm taking my land back." Another shakes his head. "When this is over, there will be no Rome left in Britain at all." Their eyes gleam with a kind of feverish hope that scares you as much as it inspires you. Boudica addresses the crowd, her voice strong even in exhaustion. Rome thinks we are savages. They think we are divided. But look at us. Tribes that once fought each other now fight together. That is their mistake. That is our power. She raises her sword, and the warriors answer with a rhythmic pounding of spears against shields, a sound like thunder rolling across the camp. The Druids perform another ritual, calling on the gods for continued favor. This one is darker than the previous ceremonies. Ravens are released into the night sky, their black forms vanishing against the stars, and blood from a sacrificial bull stains the earth red. A druid whispers to you as he ties a new charm on your wrist. The gods are watching, and they are pleased. The next morning, Verulamium appears on the horizon, a cluster of Romanized houses and shops. You see smoke already rising. Scouts have begun the attack ahead of the main army. By the time you reach the gates, chaos reigns. Merchants scream. Roman veterans rush to organize a defense, but it's too little, too late. The Iceni and their allies swarm through the streets like floodwater through an open gate. Shops are looted, villas set ablaze, and statues of Roman emperors topple. One massive bronze head of Claudius rolls into the gutter, dented and filthy. You stand over it for a moment, staring into its lifeless metal eyes. This is what empire looks like when its mask is torn off. Boudica leads from the front, chariot wheels spraying mud as she cuts through the defenders. Her daughters are with her, their faces grim and focused. You see one Roman soldier drop his weapon and try to flee, only to be cut down by a spear thrown from across the street. By noon, Verulamium is gone, swallowed by fire and fury. The smoke billows so high it looks like the sky itself is burning. Warriors cheer and embrace one another, some laughing, others weeping from sheer release. You stand at the edge of the city, panting, watching as flames devour rooftops and walls. The smell of burning grain, leather, and flesh curls in your nose, turning your stomach. And yet, the army is euphoric. This is the rebellion at its zenith, and you can feel it in your bones. But amid the victory, you can't shake a creeping thought. Rome will not ignore this. They've been humiliated 3 times now, and the empire doesn't stay humiliated for long. You glance at Boudica, still standing proud in her chariot, eyes blazing, and wonder how much further this storm can run before it breaks. You wake to the smell of ash clinging to everything, your cloak, your hair, even the cold morning air. Verulamium is now little more than smoldering ruins behind you, its once proud Roman buildings collapsing into blackened husks. The army is triumphant, swollen with warriors from nearly every tribe in the east. But you feel something else creeping into the edges of your mind. Unease. As you march north, talk spreads quickly. Scouts have returned with urgent news. The Roman governor, Suetonius Paulinus, is finally on the move. He's abandoned his campaign against the Druids in the west and is marching fast with battle-hardened legions. The mood among the warriors shifts. Some are excited at the idea of a decisive fight. Others, quieter, know what a Roman legion really means: discipline, steel, and cold-blooded efficiency. You overhear one veteran Iceni warrior, scars crisscrossing his arms, mutter, "We've burned their towns, but if their legions pin us down in the open, it'll be different." His friend grunts in agreement, but still says, "We have numbers they've never seen. Even their eagles can't stand against a storm this big." Boudica senses the tension. That night, she gathers everyone around an enormous bonfire, the flames painting her woad-covered face in harsh shadows. Her daughters stand beside her, eyes hard as flint. "We have shown Rome that Britain does not kneel," she says. "But Rome will not stop. They will come for us with everything they have. Are you afraid?" The warriors answer with a roar of defiance, slamming weapons on shields. The sound rolls into the night like thunder. Boudica points her sword at the dark horizon. "Then we will meet them. We will fight them, not as slaves, but as free people. We will bury their legions and their pride in British soil." Her words ignite the crowd. Warriors chant. Some pound their chests, others lift charms or amulets to the sky. But even amid the fervor, you see worried glances. Some know how dangerous the Roman legions are. Others have never faced them in open battle and don't understand what's coming. The Druids perform another ceremony, more urgent than before. They burn sacred herbs, their smoke curling upward like ghostly fingers. You watch as they paint sigils on warriors, shields, and whisper blessings into their ears. One Druid stops in front of you, pressing a raven feather into your hand. "When the iron storm comes," he says softly, "remember who you are." The next day, the army changes its pattern. There are no more cities to sack nearby. Instead, Boudica leads everyone to a stretch of open ground with a narrow approach, perfect for funneling Roman troops. She chooses this site deliberately, using terrain the way the Romans usually do. Wagons are drawn into a defensive line, women and children placed behind them for safety. You spend the day preparing, stacking weapons, checking chariot wheels, and tightening leather straps. People practice spear throws, shield formations, even crude ambush drills. The sheer size of the force feels overwhelming. Tens of thousands, a sea of people armed with everything from iron swords to farm tools turned into weapons. That night, the camp is quieter than usual. Fires burn low as people eat in silence or whisper to their families. You hear one mother telling her son, "Stay behind the wagons until I call." You think about your own life before all this: fields, quiet nights, the smell of barley and rain, and wonder if you'll ever see anything like that again. In the distance, you see faint orange lights, Roman scouts, or perhaps the main body of Suetonius's force, closing fast. The reality hits hard. This is no longer a campaign of surprise raids and quick victories. This is going to be a battle that decides everything. Whether Boudica's rebellion carves out a free Britain, or whether Rome crushes it and grinds its memory into dust. You grip your sword tighter and look at Boudica as she stands in her chariot, eyes fixed on the horizon. She looks like a queen carved from stone, unmovable and eternal. And you wonder if this will be the moment when legends are made or broken. The morning breaks cold and gray, the kind of sky that feels heavy enough to fall. You wake to the clamor of preparation, shields being strapped, chariots being harnessed, warriors chanting to drive out fear. The wagons have been drawn into a wide crescent, creating a wall of wood and iron behind which women and children wait. Everyone knows what's coming now: Suetonius Paulinus and the Roman legions. You climb onto a wagon for a better view and see them in the distance, a dark, moving line that ripples like a living creature. Roman standards glint in the weak light, eagles perched atop poles, banners snapping in the wind. They march with frightening precision, shields aligned, helmets shining like a line of steel teeth. Boudica stands in her chariot, daughters by her side. She raises her spear, voice carrying across the army. "This is it. Rome thinks they can scare us back into chains. Show them your chains are broken forever." The roar that follows rattles your bones. The Druids begin a chant, low and rhythmic, building to a howl that sweeps through the warriors. You grip your sword tighter as adrenaline kicks in, your heartbeat pounding like war drums. Then it begins. The Britons surge forward first, a wild wave of humanity crashing toward the Roman lines. War chariots cut across the field, their wheels spiked, horses screaming as they gallop into the fray. You run with them, feet pounding, lungs burning, war cries tearing from your throat. The noise is deafening. Metal on metal, screams, the hiss of arrows cutting through the air. But then you see it, the Roman machine at work. The legion doesn't break or scatter. Instead, it flexes and moves like one giant organism, shields locking into a wall, spears bristling out like a forest of iron. Arrows rain down from behind the shield wall, cutting swaths through the charging Britons. You watch as men fall, screaming, clutching at wounds before being trampled by those behind them. You crash against their line, hacking with your sword, trying to find a gap. But the Romans don't fight as individuals. They fight as one relentless block, every movement drilled and perfect. A man next to you takes a spear through the gut and collapses. Another drops his axe and runs, terror written on his face. Boudica's chariot sweeps past, her daughters throwing spears into the Roman ranks. She shouts for the warriors to flank, to find weakness. But the legions respond instantly, rotating formations to meet each attack. It's like fighting a stone wall that strikes back. The noise is overwhelming, clanging iron, grunts, horses screaming, and the dull thud of bodies hitting the ground. You hear someone shouting in Brythonic, fall back to the wagons. But the sound is lost in the chaos. Then the Romans advance, slowly at first, then faster, pushing forward like a tide. Their short swords, gladii, stab and twist with brutal efficiency. You see warriors break, running back toward the wagon line, only to be cut down as the Romans press harder. Panic spreads. What began as a confident charge is collapsing into chaos. Chariots try to circle back, but get caught in the crush of fleeing warriors. The wagon line, meant as a defensive fallback, now becomes a trap. People climb over each other, trying to escape, while Roman infantry pushes relentlessly forward. You grab a wounded comrade, dragging him toward the wagons, heart pounding in your ears. Behind you, you hear Boudica still shouting, still urging her warriors to stand, but even her voice is swallowed by the roar of battle and the screams of the dying. By midday, it's clear. The rebellion's great tide has broken on the rock of Rome's discipline. Bodies litter the field, wagons burn, and the once united army is scattering in every direction. You stand on the wagon line, gasping for breath, swords slick with blood, staring at the advancing Romans who move with terrifying calm, like butchers at work. Boudica's chariot races past, her daughters clutching at her for balance, eyes wide with fury and grief. You meet her gaze for an instant and see something there you never expected: despair. This isn't a battle anymore. It's a rout. The battlefield is chaos, screams, smoke, and the metallic stench of blood thick in your throat. The Britons who hours ago marched with pride are now running in every direction, desperate to escape the Roman advance. The wagon barricade, meant as protection, becomes a death trap as panicked warriors and camp followers pile into it, blocking any easy retreat. You stumble backward, pulling a wounded warrior with one arm, your sword still clutched in the other. All around you, people are falling, trampled, cut down, or crushed beneath overturned carts. Horses scream as they break free of their harnesses, some crashing through fleeing crowds in sheer terror. The Romans keep advancing. Their formations stay tight, shields interlocked, short swords stabbing in rhythm like one iron heartbeat. They don't chase blindly, they herd, pushing everyone toward the wagons where there's nowhere to run. Every step they take feels deliberate, inevitable, merciless. Boudica's chariot flashes by, mud spraying from its wheels. Her daughters hold onto the frame as she shouts commands, trying to rally small pockets of warriors still fighting. Hold the line, hold it! But few listen. Fear has ripped the army apart like cloth torn by strong hands. You duck as an arrow whistles past your ear and slams into the wooden side of a cart. The wounded man you're dragging groans, slipping from your grasp. You look around, but there's nowhere safe to go. Romans are closing in from the front, and the panicked mass behind you crushes forward. Near the wagon line, women scream as they try to climb onto carts to escape. Children cry out for their parents, lost in the stampede. One mother pushes her child into your arms, eyes wild. Take him! Take him! She shouts before disappearing into the crowd. You hesitate only a moment before pulling the boy close and searching for any opening to break through. Then you see it, a narrow gap along the left flank where the Romans haven't fully closed yet. You push forward, clutching the child, heart hammering. Others see the same gap, and suddenly dozens are surging with you. The Romans notice, but they're too focused on pushing through the main wagon barricade to stop everyone. You make it past the gap and into open ground, running as fast as you can. Behind you, the sounds of slaughter echo. Shields pounding, men screaming, the terrible crunch of iron on flesh. You risk one glance back and wish you hadn't. The wagon line is engulfed, flames licking high where torches have set carts ablaze. People are still trapped behind it, their screams joining the crackling fire. Somewhere beyond the chaos, Boudica's chariot still moves, trying to rally what's left. But even she must see it. The battle is lost. You see her wheel sharply and race toward the tree line, her daughters gripping the sides. A handful of warriors follow her, but most are running blindly, every formation shattered, every plan undone. You keep running until your legs nearly give out, the child in your arms sobbing quietly against your chest. When you finally stop, bent over and gasping, you're deep in the woods with a scattered group of survivors, bloody, filthy, and stunned. One man falls to his knees, staring blankly at the ground. Another punches a tree until his knuckles bleed, shouting curses at the Romans and at himself. The boy clings to you, whispering, "Where's my mum?" You have no answer. All you can do is hold him tighter and look back toward the faint orange glow on the horizon where the wagons burn. Hours later, Boudica herself arrives with a small group of warriors and her daughters. She's pale, eyes hollow, her once proud hair tangled and streaked with dirt. She dismounts from the chariot, standing silently for a long time before finally speaking. This is not the end. but her voice cracks, and you know, everyone knows, that the rebellion as they dreamed it has been shattered. You sink to your knees, exhausted, clutching the child and staring at the ground. You've seen battle before, but nothing like this. The rebellion that felt unstoppable days ago now feels fragile, fleeting, like smoke in the wind. Night falls heavy and silent, broken only by the distant cries of the wounded who didn't make it out of the battlefield. You sit against a tree, the child still curled up in your lap, trembling from exhaustion and fear. Around you, small clusters of survivors huddle near meager fires, their eyes hollow and distant. Boudica moves through the camp like a shadow. Her once commanding presence feels dimmed, her steps slower, shoulders heavier. Her daughters stay close, their expressions tight with grief and anger. They've lost friends, family, and the sense of invincibility that carried them through Camulodunum, Londinium, and Verulamium. At dawn, she calls everyone together. Her voice carries, but it's no longer edged with triumph. It's steady, quiet, heavy. We fought for freedom, she says. We fought because Rome thought we could be broken. And though today we lost, we are not broken. She pauses, scanning the survivors. Rome has won a battle, but they have not won our souls. You are still free, and you must choose how to keep that freedom alive. Some shout their loyalty, insisting they'll fight on. Others say nothing, staring at the ground. For many, the rebellion died yesterday on that field. For others, it's only the beginning of a slower, quieter war. You think about your own choice. Part of you wants to keep fighting, to avenge every friend who fell and every child left without parents. Another part wonders if survival, simply enduring, is the truest form of defiance now. The Druids gather and speak quietly with Boudica. Their faces are grim. Whatever omens they once promised of victory have turned to warnings of hardship. One places a hand on her shoulder and murmurs something you can't hear. She nods, but there's no fire in her eyes, only weariness. Later that day, scouts report that the Roman legions haven't pursued. Suetonius Paulinus has stayed at the battlefield, tending to his own wounded and consolidating control. It's a small mercy, but it feels hollow. The Romans don't need to chase you. Britain is already bleeding from the defeat. You travel for days, deeper into the countryside, staying off roads and avoiding Roman patrols. The group grows smaller as people break off to return to their tribes, their homes, or what's left of them. Each farewell is quiet, subdued, lacking the old war cries and boasts. People hug silently and walk away, eyes wet but resolute. Boudica rides at the front, rarely speaking. Her daughters keep close, whispering to her at night, holding her hands when they think no one is watching. The child you rescued clings to you, refusing to leave your side, and you realize you've become his only family. One evening, you overhear two warriors talking about rumors. Some say Boudica plans to continue the fight with guerrilla tactics. Others whisper she might end her life rather than be captured. You don't know what to believe, and you're not sure you want to find out. The rebellion that began with fire and fury is now reduced to embers. But even embers can burn if fanned, and you wonder if one day another storm like this one might rise again. On your last night with the group, Boudica sits beside you by the fire. She studies the child in your arms, then looks at you. "Protect him," she says softly. "Protect what's left, because Rome cannot take everything from us." Her voice cracks just slightly, and you realize she's carrying more pain than any victory or defeat could ever measure. She stands, walks to her daughters, and they disappear into the darkness together, leaving you staring into the embers of a dying fire. The rebellion has ended, but the scars it carved on the land, on the people, and on you will never fade. The following morning, the camp is quieter than ever. Only a handful of warriors remain, exhausted and silent, their weapons dulled and armor dented. The child you rescued clings to your hand as you watch Boudica mount her chariot. Her daughters climb up beside her, their faces pale but resolute. She doesn't give a speech this time. She simply nods once to those who remain, a silent farewell, and drives off into the mist. You know what the whispers mean. Some say she will fight on in the hills, others that she seeks the Druids for guidance, and darker rumors claim she means to drink poison rather than live to see chains on her wrists. You want to call out, to ask what comes next, but the words stick in your throat. Perhaps no one truly knows. Days blur together as you travel, avoiding Roman patrols that now scour the countryside. The empire moves quickly. re-establishing outposts, building new forts, and crushing any sign of further rebellion. You hear stories of tribes surrendering, paying tribute again, some even handing over their warriors in exchange for leniency. Rome wastes no time turning victory into domination. Yet something has changed, and you feel it in every village you pass. Fear, yes, but also pride. People talk about Boudica as if she's already become legend. Children whisper about the queen who rose from humiliation to burn London itself. Say who made the empire tremble, even if only for a season. That kind of story can't be killed by any legion. You find a small farm willing to take you and the child in for the winter. At night, by the fire, you tell him stories of bravery, not just of Boudica, but of all those who fought beside her, who stood against impossible odds. He listens wide-eyed, clutching the raven feather charm still tied to your wrist. Weeks later, word reaches you. Boudica is dead. Some say illness took her. Others claim poison by her own hand, a final act of control in a world spiraling away from her. The Romans, perhaps relieved, bury the rebellion under silence, forbidding songs or stories about her. But in every home you visit, in every whispered conversation at market stalls, her name lives on. You visit the old battlefield once more in spring. The wagons are long gone, the dead buried or burned, the grass beginning to grow again. But as you stand there, you can still hear the echoes, the clash of iron, the cries of war, the unyielding roar of a queen who refused to kneel. The child stands beside you, looking up. "Did we lose?" he asks softly. You crouch down, resting a hand on his shoulder. "We lost the battle," you tell him, "but not the story. And sometimes the story is what outlives everything else." He nods, though you're not sure he fully understands. Someday he will. Someday he'll tell his own children about this rebellion, about the queen who burned a Roman city to avenge her daughters and shook an empire to its core. As you leave the field, you look back one last time. The wind whispers through the grass, carrying with it the memory of fire and fury, of freedom claimed even for a moment. The rebellion is over, but its spirit, wild, fierce, untamed, still lingers, like smoke that never fully clears. You tighten the charm on your wrist, take the boy's hand, and keep walking. There's work to do, fields to tend, and a life to rebuild. The war is over for now, but you know, someday someone will rise again, inspired by her story, ready to finish what she began. And when that day comes, you'll remember this. You were there when Boudica burned London, when the queen who lost everything struck back with fire, and when her defiance carved her name into the bones of history. Cool down words. And that's the story, how one queen, wronged beyond imagination, rose up and set an empire's pride aflame. Boudica's rebellion was not just about vengeance. It was about dignity, freedom, and refusing to live on your knees. Even though the rebellion ended in defeat, the mark she left on history is unshakable. You can still stand today in the places where her army marched, where cities like Londinium once burned, and feel that history under your feet. It's more than just facts in a book. It's the memory of a people who, for one brief and furious moment, believed they could tear down an empire. What can we take from it? That sometimes, even when the odds are hopeless, the act of standing up matters. That the story you leave behind can inspire far beyond your own lifetime. Boudica became legend not because she won, but because she refused to be silent in the face of injustice. If you've listened all the way through, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Boudica had a chance to truly push Rome out if she'd won that last battle? Or was it always doomed to fail? Drop your answer in the comments below. And before you go, if you enjoyed this journey through fire, rebellion, and history, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It really helps keep these stories alive and brings more voices to this community of history lovers. Thank you for listening, for imagining, and for walking alongside history's heroes and rebels. Enjoy listening, and subscribe to the channel for the next video.